Sound off, Husker Nation. This is your Real Red Reaction Show on Lincoln's KFOR. Call the show now at 402-489-1240.
Welcome to it, Real Red Reaction. We're here at the bar as postgame rolls forward. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal, Jeff Moats, and Will Wilson. Bill Hooks should be joining us, so we'll also get caught up with the Pride of Fairbury, Bill Dolman. Fellas, we were worried for Nebraska this week, not only with what Vegas laid down with the spread, but just what Michigan is, and that's a team working on 3 straight trips to the college football playoff, the second best team in the country, and arguably the best offensive line in the country. They looked like it today. We invite you down here to the bar, 16th and P. The Slinkies are flowing. The cheer here right towards the end of the fourth quarter was great. Go Big Red broke out in full chant once the overs were hit. and once Josh Fleeks went 74 yards, there were hugs and high fives. But, fellas, for much of the day, it was all about it's a common phrase, right? It is what it is. And Nebraska football is what it is right now. Game 5 in the rule era. And Michigan is what it is with Jim Harbaugh in year 9. And quite frankly, kind of a reset he did with who he recruited, how they developed, and what quarterback he finally landed. J.J. McCarthy was incredible today. The black shirts said, as much as they pride themselves on practice, you saw a different dude in front of you trying to tackle one-on-one on crossing routes or checkdowns today. Michigan was just fabulous, 240 yards rushing. McCarthy, his mobility, his arm strength, even took some chances, and his wideouts made plays, Elijah. But, guys, we'll go around the horn here, and I'm going to preface it with this question. Was today uglier than you expected? Because that is – I mean, the stadium emptied out. Nebraska fans were really frustrated, and they knew it was going to be a steep climb anyway. Third play of the game on offense, second play, it's a tipped ball that's an interception. You blink, and Michigan is very methodical, is up 14 rip, and then it's 28-0. And Nebraska never quit. They fought hard. We'll see where Nash is at health-wise. You had a Singleton is a question mark moving forward, you would think, based on how he got submarined. But just a tough day for Nebraska, and not a lot of time to ice up because Illinois looms. That is huge for the rest of the season.
It was, simply put, Schmitty, it was like watching a football game of men against boys. And not a slight towards Nebraska in that way. That's just what Michigan has built over the past couple of years. They're that good. I think Husker fans and the Husker football team saw why they're ranked number 2 in the country today, and you kind of saw it from that first drive. At least I did, sitting in East Stadium, which I will say, the padded seat with the seat back, the short concession lines, the short bathroom lines, A+. Can't wait for the entire stadium to be that way. There is a little bit of cramping with the legs whenever you're tall like me with those seat backs, but alas, I'll take the comfort over a little bit more leg room. But, yeah, as soon as that first drive, Michigan made it look easy going down the field. I don't think it was until the second half that Nebraska got them in third and greater than 5. Michigan just with their rushing attack, they weren't doing anything fancy. They weren't doing anything special. A lot of base offense, getting a big push up through the middle. And I don't think Nebraska's rushing defense is as bad as it showed today, but Michigan's rushing offense is as good as they showed today. They're that good. It's down to them, Penn State and Ohio State, for the Big Ten title for a reason. Those 3 teams are in a league of their own right now, and Nebraska just isn't in that league, and that was fully proven today.
489-1240, 489-1240. You want to get in on Real Red Reaction. We're live at the bar, 16th and P for postgame. You can join us in the Stream Hail Varsity YouTube channel and also the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel. Hail Varsity Radio, Twitter at HVarsity Radio, KFOR, Facebook, and Twitter also. Mozi, you had a chance to see this thing, and it looks like a lot of blowouts that we've seen in Lincoln. The silver lining is Nebraska did not get shut out at home. That would have been the first time since 1967, the first shutout since Arizona State in 1996, where my little brother had beer poured on his head as we were up in the low oxygen area watching that game. Now, wisely, my 14-year-old brother at least opened his mouth and tilted his head back when Arizona State fan was pouring beer on him. But a tough day for Nebraska.
Yeah, and I saw something along the lines that it was, 344 consecutive games that Nebraska has not been shut out, and that goes back to that September game in 1996 down at Tempe, where Arizona State won that game 19-0. When you look at how J.J. McCarthy performed today at quarterback for Michigan, there is no question that he could be one of the top Heisman finalists when they announced that award in December. He put up some pretty good numbers. He had 2 touchdowns thrown. He rushed for another. And, in fact, that touchdown that he ran for, I thought, was highly impressive, considering that the way that the offensive line that Michigan, what they created for him for an open path, I mean, it was like a 25-yard run in the end zone for him, and he had nothing but wide open space around him and straight ahead of him to take it in for the touchdown. So I think he backed up his numbers today with what he can do as a quarterback for a high-powered offense like Michigan. And to Nebraska's defensive credit, Nebraska defensively did have some stops, but there were some trouble I saw maybe at times on the outer edges, even some of those passing routes. But I thought Nebraska's defense, considering that they were up against a Goliath, if you will, in Michigan, I thought they played pretty hard today. The offensive line, I thought, went back to its old routine where we had some breakdowns. But again, they're going up against a much bigger defensive line, I think, than Michigan has. The problem, I thought, was the rush end spots. They were not protecting those outer edges and preventing those rush ends from coming in to get Heinrich Haarberg. I thought that was kind of problematic myself. But I think Nebraska, again, they're still trying to feel out exactly their identity. Are they a running football team? Are they a passing team? What are they? I think they're just trying to get adjusted still to this new system under Matt Rule, and it's going to take some time. And I think for those people that left early, especially at halftime, and this is just my opinion, it just shows that you're not patient with the process of trying to turn this program around. And he mentioned, if you recall when he was introduced, it's going to take some time. And I think the patience level for a lot of fans right now, it's like, okay, we had 2 straight games where Nebraska won. Obviously against Northern Illinois, they looked superior from what they had been previously. They struggled a little bit against Louisiana Tech last week. And then they go up against, as I put it, a Goliath in Michigan, and people seem like maybe they were fed up. Again, you got to give time for something like this to happen. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be like what – it's not going to be time. Well, but still, though, but my point is this. Just because Colorado won their first 3 games with Deion Sanders as their first-year head coach, look what they've done the last couple of weeks, although today – They climbed back to within reach of trying to beat USC.
Altitude kicked in.
Right. But what I'm saying is it's going to take, with Nebraska where they're at right now, it's going to take a little bit longer to get to where they need to be. And the conference is going to be stacked. There's no question. Now, I saw Illinois was getting beat or down here in their game this afternoon. So that's your next focus. Your next focus is trying to improve. As you do week by week, you're looking to go on the road and play Illinois. You got 6 days now until that. You got a short preparation time for that game, so that's going to be a little bit more challenging. I think Nebraska, considering what they've done on defense this year, could pose a big threat toward Illinois. Brett Bielema is trying to turn that program around. And so you got 2 programs right now that are in the middle to latter part of the pack in the Big Ten, and they're trying to rebuild themselves. And I think everybody just needs to remember is just be patient. It's not going to happen overnight.
Well, we talked about it this week on the Hail Varsity show, Motzi, that today was a litmus test, not necessarily for Nebraska against Michigan.
Stick.
It was a measuring stick. You knew that Michigan had the talent advantage, what they brought in the field. It was a measuring stick.
Exactly.
How much progress have you made from a physicality point of view? Matt Rule's been preaching it since he got the job, and it's been an emphasis through fall camp and through this season that you want to be the most physical football team on the field today. Today was a measuring stick in terms of the physicality, and Nebraska got beat physically in all three phases of the game. Michigan was the more physical team in special teams. Their offensive line out-physical Nebraska's defense, and their defensive front seven out-muscled and out-physical the Nebraska front seven. Simply put, Nebraska doesn't hold a candle to the physicality of Michigan, and I think that's kind of the point you're making here of, like, Nebraska is still so far away from Michigan in terms of this.
And that's what today told you, because Michigan not only is the class of the Big Ten, at least they looked like it today, and we get to Alexander the Great and Terrible's comment, dangerous, and we made them look like the best team in the country. Maybe they are. We'll take more comments in the Hail Varsity YouTube stream, 489-1240. You want to join us on KFOR and the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel as well, and we'll get to more of your comments. But no, I get the patience. And got an email from diehard Husker fan I've known for years, Kent. Kent is very real with his thoughts, and he's like a lot of Nebraska fans that left in halftime, or left at the end of the first quarter, or left at the third quarter. The elements were the elements today as you're pushing 90 degrees, and you knew it was going to be an uphill struggle anyway against Michigan. Michigan looked great. Nebraska didn't tackle worth a darn, and that was frustrating. But again, this is a team that will be in the playoff, and this team is title or bust. They've done everything else, and they're set up for it.
And let's bring up one other point here, guys. Let's go back about 5-6 years ago. Jim Harbaugh was in the hot seat in Ann Arbor, okay? And they were not winning the key games or big games that they were hoping to do. And all of a sudden, what was it, a year or two ago? Well, this will be year 3 possibly that they can make the college football playoff. But, you know, the last 2 years they've been in the playoff. And it was a slow build-up to where they're at right now. I think more than anything else, that's what people have to understand. If Trev Alberts is going to stick with Matt Rule as the head coach of this football team, I think Trev Alberts is going to have the patience there. And I think the fans, if you're a diehard and you support these guys through thick and thin like a lot of people say they do, you got to be that same mentality, I think. You know, it takes time. And look what Jim Harbaugh's done now, though. Look what he's done. Look where he's at. They're the number 2 team in the country. They came in and they blew over Nebraska.
Will,
it takes time.
I want to get your take on this, Will. You've been a kid that grew up in Lincoln. You grew up in you and Elijah's era was the Amir era, right? Where you're going 9-4. Maybe you're winning 10 games, but the big games didn't go Nebraska's way a lot of times. You've recycled through coaches, and now you're at the point where, yeah, it's game 5 of year 1, but it's now year 15 of getting jackhammered on national TV, and that is the rub right now. That is the absolute rub. Where, yeah, it's a new guy that you want to believe in, and I think you should, because I think Rule knows what he's doing. You just don't have the horses, and every time you hit reset, you lose some of the horses. Ernest Hausman was out on the field today for Michigan. You have a new offense. Nebraska tried to supplement with the portal, and they've absolutely missed on that. I know Sherman played today, but he's not been a difference maker this year. So, Nebraska's going to have to reassess, and they'll just keep working to be physical. There's other teams they can match up with and beat in the league. Michigan just isn't one of them. But Will, a thought, brother, you were pouring beers today with Husker Nation, and I mean the feedback was what going into this? I mean there was very little optimism because Harbaugh and company came in with their fraternity paddle.
Yeah, Schmitty, it was. You could tell that a lot of people saw this coming. They didn't want to think this was coming, but when halftime hit and we got slammed, you kind of thought that people knew this was going to be happening. To be honest, I didn't watch much of the game. I maybe watched 5 plays.
You didn't miss much.
But I did it. But you know what? I think back to the last Michigan game, and all 4 of us were on that reaction show. And I'm going to say the same thing I said then. You look at Michigan, this is how far we are. And I know we got some years left. I know we got some time, but you look at that line of scrimmage and everything else. This is how far we are. Now, I don't know if we ever get there, but I know it's year one. I'm not trying to freak out right now. It's just year one. A lot of time left. But, man, it's there's a lot of space in between us and Michigan. But you know what? I just took off my shoes. My dogs are barking right now. And
we're going to need about 7 Christmas trees in the studio. Is that what you're telling me?
That's exactly right.
So you got your steps in is what you're saying, Will.
I got the steps in, and my grandma always says alcoholism runs in the family. I'm starting to figure out why.
Oh, wow.
Football fan.
I'm not touching that.
Rick emails in, so sick of this BS program and their money sucking. What total BS. Start paying the players $30 million. I'm going to edit. Rick, thanks for the email. Call some reputable politicians out there that are good at finding hookers and blow. Stop taking my money. That was an angry Husker fan that's been a booster for a lot of years.
Smitty, we tried to talk people off the edge a little bit in our show yesterday and even earlier this week, and that this was never the test for Nebraska in year one. Look at the expectations of these two programs. Michigan coming into this year, it was Big Ten championship or bust. Anything short of a Big Ten championship was a failure of a season. You needed to make the college football playoff, and if they could get a national championship to cap this year off, Michigan fans would have been very happy. Would have been disappointed if they didn't get it. That wasn't necessarily the expectation, but that's the type of heights we're talking about with the Michigan Wolverines right now. Nebraska coming into the year, we hope they make a bowl game. 6-6, they should be able to do it. With the amount of money coming in here, they should be able to do it. These programs are on 2 completely different levels right now, and simply put, it was an ass whooping. That's what we saw today. A complete and total ass whooping, yes, with a capital A. That's what Michigan did to Nebraska today. Is that disappointing to
such
see?
Such a good term. I mean, because it's perfect. It's such a good term and so appropriate.
I mean, Michigan, right now, simply put, they seemed like they were running their Thursday practice getting ready for Nebraska today against their backups. That's what Nebraska's team looked like today. Those are the levels of difference we have. Michigan's backup quarterback took their offense 80 yards down the field for a touchdown at the end of the third quarter. Michigan's backups right now are just as good, if not better, than Nebraska's starters. There's a long road. You're looking at a team in Michigan of 4- and 5-star guys that have been developed for 4 or 5 years. They are head and shoulders above Nebraska right now. Nebraska's got a team full of 3- and 4-star guys that weren't really developed over the past couple of years. You tried to microwave some development through the offseason, and you have some 18-year-old kids who've been developed for 2 to 3 months. That's what Nebraska is right now. Is there hope for the future based on today? No, because you're still a long way from the top. And if Husker fans want to be at the top, then yes, I can see why you're distraught. But simply put, this was never a game that you thought you were going to win. It's just disappointing the way it happened.
You know that it's a long way, if you're Evel Knievel, to jump that bus from one side of the Grand Canyon to the other. That's your gap right now, fellas, and Rule knows it. And we'll hear from him in a little bit. We'll get to more of your comments in the StreamYard. Real Red Reaction live at the bar here at 16th and P. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal, Will Wilson, Jeff Moats. Big thanks to the bar for having us out pre and post game. And listen, this was just going to be a reckoning today. That's flat out what it is. Now, I'm going to stay 2 seconds, Moti, on Harburg. I liked Harburg throwing the ball today. I know some of it may have been air quote garbage time, but I liked some of the play calls for him. I like the fact he found some of his receivers. And I like Fleeks. You know, they just moved him Monday to running back, but I'm very glad. I'm very glad we get to see Fleeks perhaps Friday night against Illinois, as Elijah's fan base is coming through for him. So, you know, Nebraska
Elijah
is stuck where they're stuck at right now, and thankfully the rest of the Big Ten isn't Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State. Everyone else pretty even, or could be, at least on a level playing field.
Some tasty apple juice from my friends across the bar, Moats. I'll turn it over to you.
All right, I just want to bring up a point. Steven on the chat through our YouTube feed says Nebraska must recruit better, particularly the line of scrimmage, both sides. I could not agree more with that. That's been the problem the last 5 to 6 years, has been that offensive and defensive line. And today, we definitely saw how outmatched both. Well, let me back up. we saw how outmatched the offensive line for Nebraska was versus Michigan's defensive line. And that's a problem. And he hit it on the head. I think that's a good point, that Nebraska must recruit better, in particular when you look at the line of scrimmage with both sides of the ball. I think there is no question that's been a big problem. Now, the last couple of weeks, have we seen some signs of improvement with that? Yeah, I think so. But the problem is you're going up against Michigan. Are you prepared to handle that type of caliber of football team? I don't think they are.
Football are right.
Well, it's a catch-22 with the recruiting, because how do you go recruit better players?
You win big games.
You win some big games and show them that this is a place you can come.
Well,
if you recruit those players, then you have to fall back on development. You have to get your 3 stars to play like 4 stars. You have to get that handful of 4 stars that you get in to play like 5 stars. And you have to have a couple recruiting classes, 2 to 3 years, where your misses are minimal, if at all. You have to have a couple perfect recruiting classes.
You got to stay in the program, too.
And develop
that,
those.
And that's the other thing.
4 stars, you 4 stars, play like 5 stars.
And that's the other thing. And that's where, as you put it, Elijah, that's where NIL, well, I shouldn't say NIL, that's where the transfer portal has become a catch-22. That's been the problem for Nebraska. I think it's been a problem for a few other programs. But again, when you look at the so-called blue bloods now, like Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Michigan now, LSU, some of these others across the country, USC has been beneficial with it too. You know, they're able to get some of these guys, but the difference is that they're coaching up to where they need to play at the highest level of college football. That's been the problem for a lot of schools, including Nebraska. So, yeah, it's definitely been a catch-22 from that particular aspect when you look at the transfer portal. And you could probably say that for some other skill position players. You know, before he got hurt, I think a lot of people were highly questioning the ability of Jeff Sims. I think a lot of people maybe knew his track record when he was at Georgia Tech of, you know, he was a pretty good quarterback, but not the one that could be consistently someone that's highly regarded. But, you know, I think he's capable of doing good things. But at the same time, he's gotten frazzled in many cases. We saw that against Minnesota. We definitely saw that against Colorado. And now he's got the high ankle sprain. And we keep hearing each week he is almost 100%, but we have not seen him in the last 3 games either. So, again, that's where the transfer portal, I think, becomes that catch-22, and you got to be able to adjust around that to make sure you can keep guys in the program and further develop them into your system of what you want to accomplish out on that football field.
489-1240. Our friend brought us a shot.
And he said it tastes like the game. Painful.
It does. Ooh.
Oh, man, I love post-game shows at the bar, Schmitty.
I do, too. And Motzi's looking on us either longingly or disappointedly. I'm not sure which, but
either we're going to get a big old slap in the back or a letter saying we don't come back to work on Monday.
Elbow to the mouth, yes. 489-1240, number to get in with Real Red Reaction. We'll get to your emails. We'll get to your stream comments as well. It burns. What is the cologne and Anchorman? It smells like pure gasoline.
Sex Panther?
Yes. So
it's
guys,
60% effective most of the time.
60% of the time, it works all the time.
Yeah, there it is.
It burns the nostrils.
It burn. It's a scent. So I want to ask.
I'm going to admit it smells like pure gasoline.
Brian, that's it. Right. So, and that's kind of what today looked like. If you're a Nebraska fan, because of just how dominated you were. Is that the worst thing you've seen? I mean, let's go back here real quick.
I've seen 2 where Oklahoma last season was worse than that.
Really?
I 100% think so. Because what did Oklahoma finish the year last year? 7-5. You got
67.
That's like their worst record. That was their worst record since 1999, but with the year that Bob Stoops became head coach. That's the worst record. Other than that, Oklahoma's been consistent.
And they curb stomped you, 56-7 last year?
It was bad, 41-7, I think. But
I think it was more than that.
Look, what I'm going to ask is this. I mean, this felt and looked like Ohio State 2019, Ohio State, Nebraska 2017, where you were in the midst of kind of a lost cause with who was running the program. That's not what I'm saying here with Rule. It's game 5. I want to reiterate that. But it just looked from a Jimmy's and Joe's standpoint that you're just way off. I mean, Michigan looked like Nebraska used to look like on the lines of scrimmage, playmaker at quarterback. I think you can build, though, with what Harburg's got going and just maybe open the offense up a little bit forward, take his training wheels off. Now it's going to be game 4 for him on the road at Illinois and be a little bit more dynamic offensively if you're allowed to. But we'll see where Nebraska's at injury-wise going into this Illinois game. But question was posed, how long can you sell the rebuild? And right now, that kind of gets back to the heart of what Motzi was talking about with fans taking off. And I want to ask it. Listen, you're frustrated right now. Your patience is minimal right now. You just got trounced at home by Michigan pretty severely. I mean, it might be up there as worst home loss in forever, pre-Devaney. But I think
the worst home loss since the last one, right?
Well, sure, but
a home loss is a home loss. And I know it today looked bad, but that's the number 2 team in the country you're playing today, and I think Husker fans had a way of talking this game up this whole week long. Whenever it was a lot more likely to be today than it was to be a 24-21 ball game.
The feel and the buzz was right on because Nebraska fans know football. They know what was coming in. They know how it was going to go, barring an act of God. And Michigan came in ready to go. So I look at Nebraska and this rebuild part. I mean, if you're on the recruiting trail, fellas, the pitch is come help us now, please. Secondly, you got to take into consideration the source. The source was number 2 in the country. You're laughing.
I'm laughing at the please part because I think that might actually help.
Come play for us, please. We'll get to some more comments here. 489-1240. Can email chris@hailvarsity.com. And this is a voice. Giovina 11. Genova. I can't see. I need glasses. Apparently, we're in a 300-year process. Just give it time. But that's the question. How long can you sell the rebuild? And right now, I mean, there's a lot of ticked off fans because you just got absolutely murdered and outclassed today. Now, the job, though, in that locker room tomorrow, right now and beyond, is to keep the head up and regroup and reset because it's the next play, it's the next game, it's win the here and now versus the big picture.
And you got a short turnaround this week when you look ahead to Illinois on a Friday night. Short turnaround to get this team ready for a Friday night ball game, which is going to be weird. Not going to be a lot of buzz out there. You have to bring your own energy, and it's a team that's black and blue. And you heard it about Husker teams back in the 90s. And I'll say what we saw from Michigan today was very much reminiscent of a 1990s Nebraska performance. That's what they did. They grounded you. They absolutely demoralized you through the first half. In the second half, they didn't take their foot off the pedal. Very reminiscent of a Nebraska performance. And what did they say about Nebraska teams back in the 90s? They beat a lot of teams twice. Not only did they beat you on a Saturday, but they beat you up so bad that you weren't even remotely ready to go a week from that game to go face your next opponent. So Nebraska beat you twice. And you worry that Nebraska is going to get beaten twice based off this game. They got beaten up. You had a couple of guys lost due to injury. I know Nash came back in late in that one. We didn't ever see Deshaun Singleton back in that football game. So a couple of guys that going to have some injuries to try to get back with on a short week against Illinois. And that's your hope if you're a Husker fan, is don't let Michigan beat you twice.
Eddie chimes in the stream, the Hail Varsity YouTube channel, the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel. Check those out. Watch the show that way or hear us over the air. But Eddie's right. The next 5 games are winnable if they are any good at all as a team. And he's not wrong. How do you bounce back? And, I mean, Illinois is having a heck of a time with Purdue right now. Northwestern's looked like they've got a bit of a pulse, even though that Nuke was dropped by Penn State. They really, flipped the switch. But the West is the West. I mean, you got Wisconsin out there. They keep getting better. What does this do to your psyche if you're Nebraska? And not just physically, but mentally. How do you recover from this? But no, I like Harburg. I like more of Fleeks moving forward. You are what you are on the offensive line. You got a winner in Fedoni. I've said that since the season started. And defensively right now, you need Reimer back.
You're going to need Singleton back. That didn't look like a good injury today, but he's a great player on that back end.
He is. He's absolutely great. And you're going to need some of your upperclassmen. Nash, I think, played a really good football game, but you're going to need a guy like Ty Robinson to find and dig down deep because, brother, he's played a lot of football, and he just got, quite frankly, manhandled today by one of the best offensive linemen in the country. It's going to happen. Rarely, but it can happen where there's somebody that's at such a level, and that's what it was. I mean, they ran his way a lot, and it didn't go well.
Will, where have you been?
Oh, I was just getting the Rule post-game presser, which I do have, so we can go to that whenever. My question: how did the O-line or Anthony Grant look today? Like I said, I only got about 5 plays in.
You opened the door here. Nebraska on first down, and I don't know what to do if you're Satterfield despite your salary, because when you do drop back, you're worried about that left side collapsing as a passer, okay? And you drop back with your third play from scrimmage that got deflected and intercepted. So, okay, I can't throw it all the time. I don't want to run my quarterback 47 times today because going to need the kid the rest of the year.
And to be fair, as I said pregame, Michigan, they had their option keys ready. They were taking the
You
quarterback.
didn't see much option.
Well, and the couple times they did do it, Michigan was taking Harburg. They're taking the most immediate threat, forcing him to get the ball out of Harburg's hands, and you didn't see much quarterback run just in general today because of that.
Well, you had Grant fumble again. It was recovered by Scott. And it kind of derailed a drive, and a field goal was missed. You got to figure out Alvano as well. He's 0 for 3 on field goals. So not a great kick into the wind, but it didn't even get there. But, no, I mean, you had Grant fumble again and this was a ball that was pitched to him on an option play. And he had some room to move, but he just didn't have it covered up, and Michigan did a great job of punching it out. But something's screwy because Grant didn't fumble at all last year. And I like the checkdowns to Grant, and I like his acceleration and ability, but you saw Michigan match that fellas with what they have defensively, and it looked out of sorts with just where Grant is against a lot of teams versus what Grant looked like against Michigan.
I don't play on Grant.
No, not at all. But
no, today was on the offensive line. The offensive line got manhandled by the Michigan.
They've been an issue all year because you've either missed on some recruits or they're still delayed in development, despite as many because they played 30 plus games together, at least 3 of them. Doesn't mean that they should have played that many games. Either it's development or you just missed on an evaluation.
You know, I want to bring up
pretty clear.
Go ahead. Well, I want to bring up a couple of. I wanted to bring up a couple of points here. I've been watching the chat here in the last few minutes. Toby brings up a point about our boys are young. Give them a break. We'll renew this program if we give it positive juice. Our fans are quitting and throwing in the towel. Frost blank this program up and over. It's a true story. And then Brennan says after that, guys, it's a perennial playoff team versus a team who hasn't made a bowl game and can barely beat the bottom feeders in the Big Ten. We're banged up. Our offense is not flashy. Recipe for getting 45'd.
Yep, both are correct.
Those are true statements. I think those people that are not patient don't see that. That's the point I'm trying to make. This program.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Motzi. I think you got to be patient. You got to take it on the chin today in hopes that Friday's better at Illinois. But the patience is gone, and it's not Rule's fault, but it's his.
No, that's exactly. And I think it has a lot to do with the previous coaching staff. This previous coaching staff really messed things up. If people thought it was a dumpster fire with Mike Riley, and they thought Scott Frost was going to be the hometown hero that comes back and rescues this program, look what happened. And obviously COVID-19 didn't help, but still, you couldn't weather things, you couldn't find ways to improve. And the whole program was messed up, top to bottom, left to right, all the way through the middle. And now Matt Rule is tasked with trying to clean up all that mess. and it set Nebraska football back further. So I understand there are
20
passionate
years have set football back.
Granted.
It's been accumulation. Yep.
And there have been some good years in between, right? But there's been some conflict between past head coaches and said administration, all right? But what I'm saying is, if Trev Alberts if he thinks Matt Rule's the guy that's going to try to get this thing back up and going, okay, let's see how this goes. And in year 2, let's just say year 2, toward the end of year 2, it's not getting anywhere. It's stuck in neutral. Then I would say, maybe let's reconsider this and reevaluate and look for someone that maybe can come in here and do it. But again, we're through 5 games into this first year for Matt Rule, and he's got the task of cleaning up the mess of what's been building up left from Frost, even before that with Mike Riley. And it's an uphill battle. And I think he's got the players buying in on what they're trying to do. Today was just a bad example of trying to do that against a team that is well-oiled and well-machined, and they are a carbon copy of what Nebraska was 25, 30 years ago. So, it is what it is.
And if you changed the logos on the helmet and that Michigan team today had Bama's jersey and helmet on or Georgia's jersey and helmet on, I don't think Husker fans would be as disturbed by this game, but I don't think they appreciate what Jim Harbaugh has built at Michigan. 17 consecutive Big Ten victories, most of those against teams that are a hell of a lot better than Nebraska. I think you can be disappointed in Nebraska's showing and also sit back and say, you know what? This isn't indicative of this year's Husker team. Michigan's just that good. They're going to do that to a hell of a lot of football teams.
Here's the problem. 2 years ago, you should have beat them.
And 2 years ago,
yes,
Michigan was as good as they are right now.
I wholeheartedly agree.
But that's in the mindset, though.
Yes, it is.
That's in the mindset. You're right. It is. It's a better Michigan. He moved on from quarterbacks like he's Alex Smith.
This is,
So.
I wasn't convinced of this before seeing the game today. I knew Michigan was damn good this year. I think that this is the best Michigan team that Jim Harbaugh has ever put on the football field since he took over in 2015.
Motzi, are you audibling at the line of scrimmage here?
We got to hit a break, fellas.
All right, Jeff Moats, Will Wilson, Elijah Herbal, Chris Schmidt. We're here at the bar, 16th and P. Real Red Reaction, 489-1240. You want to join?
Firebrand, California Senator Dianne Feinstein has died at age 90. Will we wake up Sunday with a shutdown government? Signs point to very likely. Intense rain is now pounding the Northeast all night and all day, creating serious flooding.
Stay connected and find out what's next.
Lincoln's new generation of talk. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Super Saver has everything you need for tailgate season at home or away. Grill out with your favorite selections and serve the best sides and drinks. Super Saver, we sell for less.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Welcome to the Continental.
From the world of John Wick comes a Peacock original 3-part event that takes us back to 1970s New York. The Continental.
This institution wields power beyond your imagination. Let's take this house and everything that comes with it.
The Continental. From the world of John Wick. Streaming now.
And away we go.
Only on Peacock.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Babbel. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at babbel.com/TNC.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day. And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
And now try Babbel free. Text radio to 64,000. Text radio to 64,000.
Hello, neighbor from Super C Convenience Stores, your go-to stop for energy drinks. You might be a monster kind of person, but Super C has all your favorites. Ghost, C4, Red Bull, Celsius, and Bang. Stop in and try Prime, the newest energy drink. Whatever gets you going in the flavors that perk you up. Shop Super C for energy and refreshment. Super C has all your favorite refreshing fountain drinks and ices too. Super C, where they're always happy to see you energized.
My teenage son only has one brain, and it'll keep developing through his mid-20s. But if he uses e-cigarettes, the nicotine in them can impact attention, learning, and memory, and can prime the brain for addiction. So I've talked to him about staying away from e-cigarettes, because my son only has one brain.
Learn more at cdc.gov.
This is the Real Red Reaction Show. Phones are open now. 402-489-1240.
Thanks for hanging out. Real Red Reaction rolls forward. We're here at the bar, 16th and P. Chris Schmidt, Jeff Moats, and Will Wilson. Elijah Herbal is signing autographs with his fans, and now he's headed to the porta potty. Should we play a mean trick? I've got an M80 in my pocket.
Yes. That's a quick answer, yes.
Moats, you're pausing for a moment. What, have you had a bad porta potty experience with an M80?
I guess not.
Moats on mute? There he is. Now we got him. We got the delay.
Well, hey, it's been buffering. It's been buffering over here. I apologize.
Schmitty, something that's been keeping me on the ledge, and I go back to that Lars Anderson interview you guys had this week, and he talked about how the Matt Rule second recruiting class in Baylor, that's when things kind of started around. So
yes,
I'm kind of waiting to see that. That's what's kind of keeping me on the ledge, and of course I'm not going to freak out and totally get out on Rule after 5 games. I mean, that's insane, and that's why I think some of this fan base is labeled insane. But I'm sticking with what Lars said because I believe that.
No, and he's right. And what did Saban do? He got Julio Jones. How did he get Julio Jones? That is for another time. But the point is he landed him. So, and listen, you've got NIL, you've got boosters, you've got people with money, and Nebraska will hopefully spend wisely. Now, the rub with NIL is, okay, are you going to be accurate with who you go spend your money on?
Well,
are you accurate with who you're recruiting? I mean, you want a kid to come in because they want to help you win. They want to play football. You genuinely connected. That's what gives you faith if you're a Rule fan, because he takes the time to connect with the kids, and he develops, a great two-way street where they're going to play hard for him because they love him, and he's going to coach them hard because he wants the best for them. But right now, you are talent deficient, and at this point, to try and win in year one, you weren't shortcutting. You were trying to supplement, and you took guys that were good enough to get looks and signed by some Georgias or some other SEC schools, or Georgia Tech and an Elite 11 quarterback in Sims's case, and you were just trying to upgrade some of the talent from the physical measurements, the speed, all of that. And they can have the tools to do it, but are they able to do it on the practice field? Are you a workout warrior in gym shorts, kind of like the NFL Combine, or can you do it against a Michigan? And right now, Nebraska's got a bunch of guys that can probably bench 25 times what the average guy benches. They can run real fast in short distance, or, man, they can fly downhill at 250 pounds. But can you make a tackle in open field? And right now the answer is no against the Michigans. And Harbaugh, quite frankly, ran into that because he fell in love about year 3, year 4 with the IMGs of the world. Now, there's some great IMG kids to get. There's some other kids that don't ever play it down in college football. You just got to be very thorough with your assessment and it's inexact. You hit 50%, you're doing great.
Well, and look how Michigan handles the transfer portal. Look at the guys they had out there they got in the portal. Their starting center they got from Stanford because they lost their center to the NFL last year. And then they supplemented their right tackle spot. They didn't even lose their right tackle from last year. He was coming back, but what did they do? They go create competition in the portal saying having two guys at the right tackle spot is better than one. They're not coming into this as Nebraska did with their quarterback situation, say, well, we really don't have a quarterback we like on the roster, so we better go find one. That's not how Michigan operates. They take a position of strength and make it even stronger through the transfer portal. In case it doesn't work out, you still got a guy you can fall back upon. And Nebraska isn't anywhere close to being able to do what Michigan does in the transfer portal. And that's why the transfer portal additions aren't working for Nebraska, because you're putting so much onto this guy that is, let's be honest, leaving his last program for a reason. And whenever you do it with Michigan, surrounding with great talent, you give that person the best opportunity to succeed. At Nebraska, whenever you put that guy in the field, you're putting a whole bunch on their shoulders, whether it be Chief Borders or MJ Sherman.
It's
or
a bit
Jeff
of a Hail
Sims,
Mary, hoping they can upgrade your talent versus Harbaugh adding more cooks to the kitchen for a great meal. Look at Ernest Hausman, for God's sake. He's a guy that could be starting right now.
He's the guy that could be starting
Lincoln.
at probably 10 different Big Ten programs right
Absolutely. And he went to Michigan because he wanted to win. He wanted to win, and he's talented enough, and he could have had a good future here, but again, transition. Now, you look back to some of the portal additions that worked for Nebraska, they weren't wrong. Casey Thompson gave you a shot to win. Trey Palmer is a Sunday guy and gives you a chance to win. Those were two hits, but it was two hits from a guy in Mickey, not to go that way, but that knew what it takes to win national championships because he'd been at LSU. Right now, Nebraska has you need more from your SEC and your Power 5 guys. Period. End of story. You're not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting it right now. And you got to sprinkle in the right guys. They got to help you, kind of like the JUCOs back in the day. Nebraska didn't go often, but when they did, they were a Rozier or Levante David.
And, guys, going back to Heinrich Haarberg, I was going to say, with Heinrich Haarberg, let's go back to him a little bit. Now, this is a guy that's been in the program, 4 or 5 years now, all right?
Great.
He has bided time to where he can get into the program. Thank you, by the way, Chris. He's bided his time. He's been that practice player. He's been the guy on the sidelines. He finally gets a crack coming out. I think in the last 3 outings, I think he's put up a pretty good effort, and especially in a situation where your top guy that you brought in through the transfer portal is still not 100%. And, and there are people that want that hometown or home state flavor out there on the football field. And Heinrich Haarberg, I think, the last couple of games has performed pretty well, especially the Northern Illinois game. Granted, it was Northern Illinois, but I also think, today he was, given the opportunity to start against this Michigan team, and he faced a challenge, the rugged Michigan defense. I think, Matt Rule, at this point, he has no other choice. Maybe Chubba Purdy to come in. I'm surprised they didn't throw Chubba Purdy in late in the ball game to get a few snaps. But maybe stick with Heinrich, going into Illinois. And, the question is, and it's a high ankle sprain, those are not exactly quick to heal. But, if you want to make sure Jeff Sims is healed 100%, then make sure he is. Don't say he's getting there. He's getting there, each day that you have practice, how he's been progressing. If he's toward 100%, that's great. But when is he going to be 100%? It's hard to say because, again, those high ankle sprains are just very difficult to get fully healed. But I think Haarberg, for the most part, has accepted what his role is going to be in the foreseeable future, and I think he's handled it pretty well, quite honestly.
The Real Red Reaction Show here at the bar. The bar as a chant of volleyball school has broken out. Fair enough. I do have one comment I wanted to respond to. Toby chimes in directly to me saying, we don't have the talent to compete. We keep getting kids that look good, kids like the Bullocks and Haarberg, our Nebraska boys that play with real heart, no fear of dying. That's what we need. That's fair, but I'll throw this back at you the other way and ask you, do guys like Bullock and Heinrich Haarberg start at any other school in the Big Ten besides Nebraska? Nebraska needs guys that the rest of the country wants to go get. And there's another comment that comes in on the StreamYard saying, if Matt Rule's rebuild works, kids are going to leave and go elsewhere to go get their playing time. I don't think that's necessarily true with the NIL resources at Nebraska. That's where you want to use your NIL resources. Keep the guys that pan out around. And I think that's what the long-term vision here is at Nebraska. But simply put, the guys that Nebraska has starting right now are not good enough to be starting at other Big Ten programs, or very many of them, if there are any.
Role guys that are starting now.
All 22 guys on Michigan would be starting at Nebraska if they
be starting anywhere in the country, typically. Now, I'll say this with Nebraska, I like the depth that they have developed. I know it didn't really show today, but I like Mikhail
Bayer.
And Bayer's a guy that I think has some upside. I really like what you got in the back end. The secondary is good. I think Henrich is playing his best football. You've seen guys like
I agree.
Come along, and you've got some young guys. You need Lenhart to come back healthy, but you're seeing Prince Will step up, get some time, and it's a big picture, long-term play, as in, what are you doing? What do you look like? How good are you by Game 5 next year? And I know you don't want to hear that. I know your patience is already that ice is broken. It's not even thin anymore because of the last few years in Lincoln with how bad your teams have performed. But I think his plan is sound. It'll work, and he isn't going to sacrifice this season. He's going to try and win this year, but he's not going to blow up year 2, year 3, year 4.
He's not going to sacrifice
trying to win
for
now.
the short term.
And you just got to take your lumps with it this year. 489-1240. You want to chime in? We'll keep hitting the stream though. The Hail Varsity YouTube channel or the Real Red Reaction YouTube channel. Both ways on Twitter can find us. Hail Varsity Radio Twitter at HVarsity Radio, or KFOR Twitter and the KFOR Facebook. Guys, we talked about the rebuild part. We've talked about portal. We've talked about NAL. We've talked about Michigan going for 230 at 5 a carry against the number one rushing defense in the country. Do you think the defense looked, and I hate this word, but scared? Or was it just that sort of mismatch with athleticism?
I don't think they were scared. I think they were just outmatched. I think you saw a defense that, similar to the Colorado game in the second half, didn't really see as much of a reason to keep on fighting and laying it all on the line. That's what you need in football, is you need guys that for 60 minutes are going to risk their body for the team as a whole. That's what you need. But I also understand it when you're down 28-0 or 35-0 in the second half, that you say, well, I'm not going to risk my body anymore for a lost cause, if you will. So I saw a defense that tried hard. I saw a defense that went up against a buzzsaw of an offense in terms of physicality, in terms of talent. And in football, you get outmatched sometimes. Nebraska outmatched by a lot today.
Well, Brody nails that they looked overwhelmed, and that's the word. And that is absolutely the word. Will, you're signaling to me either to be quiet or you've got something to jump in on, brother.
At the Rural Press Conference?
Well, we have John on the line, guys. Should we go to John?
All right, great. This will be good.
All
John, right. I think if it's the same John, it's the same John we talked to in Boulder.
Love John.
John, go for it. Thanks for your time, bud.
Yeah, how are you doing tonight? I've had a time for years and years.
We're having a good time with Nebraska fans. I'm right here. Do you have me okay?
And I guess the thing I'm looking at, nothing against you guys. I've heard the same BS for years and years and years. I gave my tickets away 2 weeks ago. My family give thousands of dollars to Nebraska. I'm going to support Nebraska. I'm going to cheer for them. I'm not going to go to any more games. I'm going to call in and make comment. If you look at some of things that a coach does, he doesn't push the best quarterback to go someplace else. A program to keep this guy maybe in 3 or 4 years will be.
Can you understand, John? I need you to dial back and call us back. You are absolutely breaking up. I need you to.
It's breaking up and it's too muffled.
What you need to get off your chest, bud. But I need to be able to hear it, and I can't. It was like you were in a bomb shelter. So please dial us back when you have a little better reception. I'm not cutting you off. I want to hear your take.
Sounds so muffled.
Been a Nebraska guy for 70 years. So call us back in about 2 minutes when your phone has better reception. Thanks, brother.
I think you may have already be calling back Will, as you're want to catch the video side of this, you can check us out, the Hail Varsity YouTube page, as well as the Real Red Reaction YouTube page. Hail Varsity Radio on Twitter as well, and KFOR Facebook and Twitter as well.
So John has season tickets, and based on how long he's been a season ticket holder, he probably has great season tickets. So if you still want to go, you might want to get in touch with John.
Well,
because he's punting. God love you if you went out in this at 94 degrees today.
Well, one way or another, with the grandfather and going away, John's going to probably be losing those tickets. No offense, John.
Well, John may have a piggy bank if he wants to keep them.
Fair enough. That's fair.
So we'll try and get John reconnected. But 489-1240. Is that Jesse the Body in the Cubs hat? Eric Newton is asking a serious question. I'm looking for...
Well, I've been mistaken for Ben Roethlisberger.
He survived.
Well, I just got off the phone with John. He wanted me to tell everybody that he's seen the same crap for 20 years and that he's never giving any more money to Nebraska. So
I think John gave a substantial amount of money. I'm just going to guess. And the pride of Fairbury's here. Oh, yeah. Bill
Mr. Dolman is here.
Bill Dolman is here.
Get him a slinky.
Actually, we have a slinky. Should we film Bill Dolman doing a sip of a slinky?
I think we should.
Just go John Goodman here and drink it out of the pitcher. John Goodman would always buy pitchers of full Bud heavy pitchers. And he's hammering it now. Do it again. All right. Dolman needed this. We're going to get him an IV. But John Goodman would, down at Key West, buy everyone pitchers of beer. Instead of buying a bottle of beer for somebody or a shot, John Goodman would do pitchers of beer at Sloppy Joe's when he would hang out with the Pirates. So Bill Dolman doing a slinky. Right at Fairbury, let's check in.
We got John here next to me. He's trying to call in. Will's sitting there trying to answer the phone line.
Yeah. Let's go out that way so our ears don't bleed. We said go outside so our ears don't bleed. Yeah, that'd be good. Bill, what'd you think? Did you hit the overs?
I'm not sure what my prediction was yesterday.
84 to something.
6.
Yes.
So I had both teams scoring.
You did.
So I nailed that.
You did.
Right. That's
Dolman hits.
Yeah. Well, do we have somebody on the phone lines? I know somebody was trying to call in from here at the bar.
Yeah, we got Sam on the line.
Sam, what do you think? How did you take today? Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, long-time listener, first-time caller. I have had enough. I have had enough of Matt Rule and his antics.
What antics do you speak of? 45 to 7?
Well, I mean, Dion lost by less.
Sure. And would you say that Dion's Louis is a little higher caliber a player right now?
You know what? I can't answer that question, but I'm just looking for a competitive football team. I've been waiting for it for years.
All right, fair enough, man. I got no response there. I mean, let me say that.
Competitive the last 4 weeks?
Yeah, Nebraska was competitive.
Look at Iowa.
Today.
Like, Iowa stinks, but they're competitive.
Well, they don't get Michigan on the schedule this year.
Yeah, I mean, they got kind of killed by Penn State last year.
Yeah,
the only
they
team that's on the level
got
of this
shut
year.
out last week in a whiteout to Penn State, so they weren't competitive last week.
Michigan did not look that good this year, and then we made them look like the best team in the country. I don't know what to say. It's upsetting. What do you do? How do you keep the hope? Please tell me.
Next Friday's big.
That might have been the best team in the country.
Yeah, I mean, they're 2 in the nation.
I think Ohio State Michigan to the ground.
I don't know about that one. I think it's down to Penn State and Michigan. Personally, I think they're a good team. And
I don't know.
I think Michigan's a good team.
Pretty good.
I think Nebraska's
Michigan hasn't played anyone.
Well, they've beaten everyone that they've played handily. So until they do play somebody, I guess we'll wait and see. But what I saw today was a good Michigan football team, physical up front. They're not going to beat anybody in a high-flying manner. They're going to beat you with body blows. They're going to ground and pound you down the field like they did today with Nebraska. And simply put, Nebraska's not a great football team.
No,
Nebraska's hoping for 6. Michigan's hoping for 12. There's levels to it.
So what happens when Michigan is so? Let's say Michigan makes the playoff. Who are they going to play? They're going to play USC, and they're going to get the breakthrough number. That's not.
They'll play Washington because USC is going to get drilled twice this year. They're too soft. They'll play Washington. They'll play Georgia.
Going to just throw for 500 yards.
They'll play. I think Michigan's physical enough, and they got a quarterback that can win them some games. I think they're different.
What do we? Enough about Michigan. What do we do about Nebraska?
Well, okay. Well, you just got to grin and bear it and pray that Friday's better. That's my advice, and I don't have any sedatives for you right now.
Which is exactly what Matt Rule said. All right, we've just played a great team. Now watch us on Friday.
Was this? Let me ask you this before we say goodbye. Was this uglier than you expected? What were you thinking today?
I was just hoping we kept it close. You know, I was just hoping we really kept it close.
What gave you that hope?
Well, I thought our defense was going to keep it close. I knew the offense was literally a mess. I mean, me and my friend Grant, who is not athletic, could have run a better offense.
Be nice to Grant.
But I was just hoping, defense gets some good stops, and it's just a low-scoring game. But we couldn't do that. That's what I was hoping for. And, that first interception, that set the tone.
I think what today was the reality check that games 1 and game 2 against Minnesota and Colorado were not lost because of Jeff Sims. I think a lot of people in Husker football and in Husker Nation put those losses squarely on Jeff Sims. I think today just showed there's a lot more problems with this football team than just Jeff Sims, and the Heinrich Harburg Band-Aid isn't enough to fix it.
Yeah, agreed. We're going to, you know what? In 2 days, I'm going to go to Champaign, and I'm going to be like, I'm so in. I'm so back in. I'm fully in.
There you go.
Good for you, Sam.
Well done.
Thanks for the phone call,
Sam. Appreciate you. 489-1240. Sam's way to talk him down.
Thank you. I tried my best.
I love it.
I don't know. Sam was walked up to me in here and said, "Where do I call?" So I gave him the number. I think he's standing in the back patio right now. So he called all the way to the studios at 3800 Cornhusker whenever he could have been, 5 feet away.
So it's the bar karaoke is what we got going right now. The right kind of karaoke. So Will Wilson's back at the studio. Jeff Moats hunkered down in his studio. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal, Bill Dolman here at the bar.
I personally want to hear from Rule. Can we hear Rule in this postgame show?
Yeah, let's do Rule. And we're going to set the camera up so the Pride of Fairbury can be seen.
All right, guys, here is the Matt Rule press conference after the game. Here it is.
Obviously, a disappointing day. A lot of credit to Michigan. Obviously, they're a tremendous football team. Really couldn't stop them today. Methodical, converting third downs in the run game, some fourth downs early, some big plays. The early turnover did not help. Offensively, obviously had the drive, got down there, had the 4th and 1 early to make it 14-7. We thought didn't have that work out for us. Went down first drive of the second half. Did not get points there, and then wasn't for that late touchdown. So I thought they're an excellent football team. Played really well. We obviously weren't good enough today, so we have a lot of work to do. With that, I'll take your questions.
Did you envision division? I mean, this is the way I saw it. Get pushed around on defense early like that.
I hate to use the term pushed around just because I want to, that's a big term for me as the coach to say. I'd have to see it. Does it make sense? I will say I heard a lot of today, Steve, a lot of this guy's supposed to do, we haven't had a lot of mistakes. We had a lot of hey, this guy's supposed to slant and spill it and he's up the field, or this guy's so certainly they controlled the line of scrimmage. I would not want to end anyway, but I felt like there were a lot of plays that hit today that were, guy's supposed to spill the ball. He doesn't, the ball rips up inside for 6 for 8. I did not see us not being able to control the line of scrimmage to that level. I thought it would be more of an even game in the run game. But when I say push, I have to be careful about being emotional in this moment, right? I have to go back and watch the tape because my history with these things has been you hate these kind of losses. They all count the same, but they hurt, when you have that type of a loss, to go back and watch the tape and make sure I deal in truth and see what I see. See what exactly there. I was disappointed. I thought their quarterback made some excellent throws in man coverage. We were all over the guys and they made plays. I don't think we had enough pass rush at times. So there was a lot of things today defensively that just didn't go our way, starting with Deshaun getting hurt on the first play and, guys having to, Tommy having to go over and play full time. So a lot of things happened that we have to get corrected. But we got to see the good news is we got to see probably the best run game, and we got to see what exactly it looked like, and people will probably copy a lot of that. So Tony and his guys have a lot of work to do to correct those things.
Coach, what about the 4th and 1 going under center opposed to going in the shotgun for it?
Yeah, no one's converted really against them in 4th and 1. So we ran quarterback sneak from the gun. I think Heinrich just maybe panicked. I thought we knocked him off the ball. If he just ran his feet, I think he was going to get it. I think he tried to jump a little bit, and that prevented him. That's a situation on 4th down where he could reach the ball too. So they're excellent. They stopped Rutgers last week, 4th and 1, 4th and 2. They're excellent short yardage defense. I mean, there's a reason why they're put together the way they are. Thought we had a good play. Thought we knocked it back. I thought this was a real growing day for Heinrich. I'll just say that. I think even the 1 3rd down, he called the wrong play. We had a false start. We had a shift. And, I've been, you guys have seen me be very stoic when you guys ask me about him. And happens with a lot of quarterbacks. You go out there, the first time you go out there to play, you're just playing and you're having fun. At the end of the Colorado game, you come in against Northern Illinois, you're just having fun playing. All of a sudden now people all start talking about you and you start trying to do a lot. Next thing you know, you're trying to be Tom Brady, trying to be the quarterback, I see this, I see that. And I think we just coached them through that game of like, hey, just go out there and play, like be Heinrich, be the guy who's out there running around playing, having fun. So I was happy to see him play throughout the game, but I thought that was an instance maybe where he could have got it, but I'll look at the tape. Maybe it was a bad call. We'll have to go back and take a look.
They came in with a lot of determination. Maybe they, for whatever reason, you think you matched their intensity?
I think they're a really good team. I think I don't want to sit here right now and say that our guys didn't want to play hard. I don't think that. I think that would belie who they are and the team that they are. They're the number 2 team in the nation. Played in a lot of ball games. They didn't play great last week. I'm sure. I kind of alluded to it the other day with you guys. Like, we were the number 1 rush offense and rush defense in the Big Ten going into here. He was going to come out and try to run for 300 yards against us to send a message. Like, you don't stay the big dog in the Big Ten without sending those types of messages. So, I don't know that it was an intensity. I don't know. I still think our guys are trying to figure out if they're good enough to play, sometimes to play these teams. I didn't feel us necessarily, Steve, cutting loose and ripping and, going, attacking them. And that's kind of where we have to get to be quite honest with you. I addressed the older guys after the game. I addressed the younger guys after the game because the younger guys will play these guys again. There's only one way to play these types of games and win these types of games. That's to attack. But I don't want to belie who they are. They're really good.
How did you feel just on the sideline with the way that your guys reacted as the first half went on? Because you haven't been through a first half like that where it got out of hand, or close to out of hand. What did you think about their reaction emotionally, physically?
I can't really say until I got to the locker room. We got to the locker room. I certainly challenged them. I challenged them in that. Everything happens for a reason, and so down 28-0, maybe you come back and win and it's a storied game no one ever talks about again. Maybe you lose 40, whatever we lost to, 45-7, and you find out a lot about the guys playing for you. You find out a lot about maybe there's some things that we can do. Like we found out Fleeks can, put Fleeks in and he hit that ball. Like, all right, maybe Fleeks needs to play more. So, we found some things in the passing game that worked out for us. All right. So I always just feel like, you hate these moments, but you can't waste these moments, right? You can't sit there and feel sorry for yourself and say, well, let's just move. Like, I can't say, hey, let's just get ready for Illinois. We have to get ready for Illinois, but we have to identify what happened and why, and fix it. So I didn't feel like our guys weren't. I think they were a good team, and I think our guys. If the word's hesitant from the beginning, maybe a little hesitant to go out there and some of the mistakes we made aren't the typical mistakes that we make. And, that part was disappointing to be out there, and even that last drive, but those things are going to happen, man. You're going to have to battle back. So we'll learn from it.
There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL who don't necessarily throw it over the top. But when Heinrich gets 3 balls batted down today, kind of with that motion, is there anything you want to try to change about it or tweak as the season goes on?
Well, I don't think we're going to be able to change his motion, right? He kind of is who he is, and he does kind of throw from different arm slots. Early on in the game, they weren't really rushing as much as they were twisting because of the quarterback draw game. So, the challenge for him was to keep climbing in the pocket. Now, one was batted by a second level defender, right? So he was on an RPO and the safety came over the top. And if the safety can bat the ball, you probably should have handed the ball off. Now, I say that without seeing the tape. But the ones that got batted down early, I think the big thing we wanted from Heinrich was to set the edge of the pocket, just get up in the pocket, find those windows. In the NFL, there's 5'10", 5'11" quarterbacks, and they throw through windows as opposed to over top of people. So, again, he hasn't played a lot of football, so he wanted to play through those moments, right? He got sacked today, protected the football, got sacked off the edge. Those things are hard to play through. So, wanted him even at the end. I don't like when a team kicks our tail to call timeout and say, I don't like doing those types of things because, to them, the victor belongs to spoils. That being said, I also owed it to our quarterback. Like for Jalen Lloyd as a freshman to catch that in cut at the end of the game, that'll pay dividends down the line. So I think for Heinrich, we just want him to climb the pocket, find windows. We haven't been throwing the ball a ton with him. So now all of a sudden you pick it up, you throw it a bunch of times. There's going to be some things for us to work through. But I think the biggest thing with Heinrich is I want him to not try to be something he's not. I want him to be himself. I don't want him to start trying to be perfect. I want him to play the game.
What's the biggest improvement your program needs to make to close the gap on teams like Michigan?
I don't know. I can't answer that right now. I mean, they're the number 2 team in the country. They've been, we're not in that conversation right now, So to me, it's just holistic, right? Like I stood on the field at Baylor in 20. I stood on the field, and forgive me for talking about another school, but I stood on the field at Baylor in 2017 as they were beating us 59-16 or something. They're throwing balls in the end zone and laughing at us. And I told Charlie Brewer and all his guys, I said, we'll come back here, we'll beat them. 2 years, we'll beat them the next year. Then 2 years later, we beat them 45, whatever. So we're going to recruit. There are recruits there today. Right? Hopefully they say wow, I can really come make a difference. We're going to develop. We're going to keep coaching these guys. We're going to coach these guys this week. They were in the same spot last year. They're 2-3 last year, right? And they battled. They won some games. We're going to have a chance to win games. So the biggest difference is I'm not going to get up here and make excuses. I'm not going to get up here and blame the players. We're going to recruit, coach, develop. We're going to learn from this game. This game sucked. Pardon my language. This game stunk. But at the same time, we play again Friday. So anyway, that's kind of the approach. It's a methodical process, one at a time, one step at a time. And again, I'll probably watch the tape and I'll see some things, right? I'll see some young players out there playing and say, man, he's going to be really good. And Tony will make the corrections on defense and we'll keep coming along as an offensive line and we'll get there.
What was Singleton's injury and also Liebentritt?
Yeah, Liebentritt came out of the game last game, hurt his elbow, so he'll be out for a couple of weeks. And then I don't know what Deshaun's is. It was his knee. I mean, he got cracked from the side, and maybe his knee got stuck in the turf or something. I don't know, but he was in a lot of pain and was out. So I don't think that I don't think it was. I don't know that it's anything beyond. I don't think it's an ACL as of yet, but we'll see. But they're going to obviously do all the tests and all those things. And then obviously Luke was not available for us today. So Luke's. Our thoughts and prayers are with Luke. He was unfortunately taken to the hospital this morning from the hotel. So we're hoping that he'll be okay. We're expecting him to be okay. But, we just erred with an abundance of caution for him. So
he was he was with the team during the game and everything, though. He was here.
He might have been. I didn't see Luke. No, I was told he was at the hospital. Yeah. So obviously Luke was injured this week. And just so you guys know, I never lied to you. You guys asked me, was he going to be fine? So yeah, he'd be fine. Then he just had started to have some pain yesterday, and they said it was nothing, antibiotic, and the antibiotic didn't heal it. So they just wanted to rule out infections and MRSAs and all those things. So I don't have a knowledge now, but that was a complete and total surprise to me this morning. He was actually at breakfast, and then the doctors came to me, and I said, "Well, let's get him to the hospital." Last thing I would want was be for something worse to happen to him. Anybody else?
Matt, real quick, how do you keep the guys
at least positive and flush this thing because you got a short week here and I mean to get ready, you guys ready? Or do you have to say anything? Do they know that?
Yeah, I'm not. We shouldn't be real positive about that game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's an amazing tribute to the crowd that they stayed that long. I mean, I appreciate them very much. Like, we should just learn from that. We should say, you know what? It's a really good team. They absolutely got after us. We couldn't respond. There's probably some good things in there. We should never accept that, though. We should never accept losing. We should never be like, it's okay. Oh, it's Michigan. It's okay. No, we should never accept that at all. So they shouldn't be real positive. They should be like, everyone in Nebraska will find out about this team next Friday night. Right? We'll find out about it. We'll find out about me. We'll find out about them. We'll find out about all of us on Friday night. And that doesn't mean winning and losing. I mean, if Illinois is better than us, so be it. But I can tell from your guys' questions, like there's a sort of a feeling of like, hey, did they really fight back a little bit, right? So, and again, I'm hesitant to say that till I see it, right? It's always hard to tell from the sideline, you know what I'm saying? It's, but we'll see on Friday night, how excited we look, how much we're flying around, what we look like. We'll see. So, yeah, I hope it bothers them. And we're in a day and age where sometimes everyone wants to be too cool for school. I hope it bothers them because it bothers me. I can tell you that much right now. That game bothered me a lot. But I don't want to minimize my credit for Michigan. That's a good football team. And so we'll try to get there. So, but I will say this, I love these players. They're great. They're great young men and they all want to win. So there's no, hey, it's their fault. It's all of it. We're in it together. So we'll battle, but we'll find out who we are Friday night. So I hope everyone watches. Thanks.
That was Matt Rule, his post-game and extended post-game, but he nailed it with, we'll find out about us a lot Friday night with Illinois, with this team, what he's about, what the squad's about, and they shouldn't like it. I mean, and good for him, where he's absolutely giving credit to Michigan, but it still is stinging for so many Nebraska fans to get rocked at home 45-7.
Well, and credit to him for apologizing for the profanity, saying that the game sucked.
That made me laugh.
It did.
As that game was unfolding, and I think maybe Schmitty, I turned to you and said, look, Nebraska has a chance to beat the teams that it's on par with. Okay, it had a chance to beat Minnesota, had a chance really to beat Colorado, wore down in the second half, beat the two teams it should have beaten. Nebraska has a chance with Illinois, Purdue, Northwestern, Michigan State, given what's going on with Iowa and its offense. But Nebraska is not on par with Michigan. Bottom line, and Michigan may be the best team in the country this season. Mm-hmm. Georgia's not wowing people. Right?
They survived in overtime 27-20 today.
As you mentioned Washington earlier with our caller. Washington's a really good football team, too.
I mean, as of right now, who's your four? It's probably Michigan, Penn State, Washington, and USC. Probably the four best teams I've seen in college football.
Maybe Texas. But that's the thing. You're just kind of
six.
You're even kind of asking the question, who are the best four? Well, Michigan, USC maybe. Well, they almost let a big lead go at Colorado. But I think definitively, if you look at what Penn State has done, and look, they didn't have enough black coffee this morning, and Northwestern to wake up, right? And they're tied 10-10 at halftime. They got the juice they needed, and they go on and they roll in the second half. But if you watch, look, Michigan has not played a tough schedule. They did what they needed to do in the second half to do away with Rutgers last week. I said on the pregame show, getting away from home and coming and being, with each other for this game, that might be the exact thing that Jim Harbaugh needed. Get away, get sequestered in the hotel, go play in a hostile environment for a while, and dominate. And they did that. And I think Michigan is going to be a team that you would definitively say right now is headed toward the college football playoff.
Guys, we got a
phone
couple
calls. They did in Nebraska
calls.
what they should have done. Yep.
Callers have been hanging on. 489-1240 for Real Red Reaction. We're here at the bar, 16th and P. What a great bookend day. Pre-game here. Game was the game. And post-game's been a lot of fun. Come get yourself a Slinky or a cold one, or just hang out with a bunch of friends that are commiserating together. Who do we have up first, Will?
Let's go to Chaz.
Chaz, thanks for hanging on, man. Appreciate your patience. Go for it.
Sounds like he's too busy partying right now. So we'll say goodbye
Is he
to Chaz.
across the bar from you guys?
It is highly possible.
No, he's
no. People have wandered in for something cold to drink. And, a call-in show.
Yeah, we just need a big whiteboard with the call-in number in here. See how crazy things get.
Let's go to Carson.
All right. Is this Junior or is this Carson?
This is Carson.
Carson, what do you say?
I'm just gotta say, I mean, it's a tough loss, I guess. I mean, but you're playing the number 2 team in the nation, obviously. I just hope, we get a couple more wins and go make bowl eligible. That's all I can say. Hard loss today, but just move on, move forward.
Carson, good stuff. Appreciate the phone call. And yeah, that's kind of Rule's approach, isn't it?
Yeah.
Move forward, try and deal with it. Last call, 10 minutes here on Real Red Reaction, 489-1240. And how many comments do we need to get to? We've got
a good amount.
Thousands.
We got a whole slew of them.
Yeah, what Chris have to say?
Oh, that's Bill R. Let's go to Chris. Newsflash, read all about it. Herbie's got pushed, shoved, knocked, smacked, and kicked around in a 45-7 dismantling by Michigan. Read all about it. Yeah, that's been about a good synopsis of this postgame show.
Yeah.
That's probably the best short narrative you could have about what happened today.
And I think he was trying to maybe make fun of us here just a little bit. I'm not sure, but you actually kind of nailed it. And the whole tenor of this conversation is not, man, Nebraska just got killed. It's more, what does that mean for Nebraska and the rebuild moving forward? Now, I think, generally speaking, Nebraska's not going to play a better team than Michigan this season. I think there's a lot that you can see on tape that you can get better from. The younger guys in the team can see how far they have to go. But I think this is just one that you take the game tape and you go find a spot under South Stadium this week. You bury a hole and you bury this game tape. I don't think you want to remember this one.
No, you show it, you teach from it, and
then you never talk about it again.
You fire them up with what didn't happen, and you try and get better from it. 489-1240 to get in.
And I'd say that about the Minnesota loss. The Minnesota loss, a lot of teaching moments. This one, I think the teaching moment is just, hey, guys, we got a long way to go. Don't be kicking yourself because one of the best teams in the country this year beat you bad.
But don't be okay with it either. Do we see Sims again?
Yeah, I think you do. And on the pregame show, I said,
I don't think Harburg played awful. Didn't get a lot of help.
But this is a for-real game.
No,
I don't think he did either. For real? Right. The defense is not necessarily for real.
They're good, not
against
great.
A team like Michigan.
They're
I
top
said,
40.
and is Heinrich Harburg for real as I hate the term Power 5 because now we're down to the Power 2.5. But is he a good starting quarterback in the Big Ten? And I think you probably put that serviceable label on him. And, a few weeks ago on the Average Joe Sports Show, Mitch Sherman said, I'm not convinced that the starting quarterback next year at Nebraska is in the program right now. I think Heinrich Harburg is a very good player, and he maybe of all the people will learn more from this game than anybody else. But is he ready to be an elite J.J. McCarthy type quarterback in the Big Ten? The answer right now is no.
No.
I agree. And you may be right. You may be right, Bill, when you say, or what Mitch Sherman said on your show, in saying that probably the next Nebraska starting quarterback for next year is not yet in the program. That's very much possible. But again, I think Heinrich Harburg, he was dealt the hand that he was given. Considering Sims is out with the ankle injury, I think Heinrich Harburg, considering what's happened here in the last few weeks, I think he's handled it pretty well. Now, granted, today he had 5 passes. I believe there were 5 passes that were swatted down for incompletions. But aside from that, I think he's handled himself pretty good, considering you went up against arguably the best team in America right now. And now you got to get ready for Illinois next week on short notice with 6 days to go before you go up against them out in Champaign.
I saw his confidence grow, his playmaking ability grow. They kind of opened it up in the second half. You're down. Who the hell cares? So let him throw it around
Right.
a little bit. And I thought he looked more comfortable as a thrower. I love the 50, the 60-yarder to Washington to start off the third quarter. I mean, the guy can whip it, and he's got different arm angles. So let's let him go and just kind of be on the move maybe a little bit. And
there it is.
You've got more mechanics to hone in on, but what does he do well? He does okay throwing on the move more so than stationary.
And I might have a hot take of all hot takes here, and you guys can shoot me down if I'm wrong here, but from a pure passing point of view, I don't think Heinrich Haarberg is any worse than what Nebraska won 10 games with Taylor Martinez back in the day. The big difference is the talent that you surrounded Taylor Martinez with, that you didn't have to rely upon the arm.
When you could throw it. And it was always off play action when Taylor was hitting somebody big. It wasn't 3rd and 9 that went well all the time for Taylor throwing a pass.
Yeah, so I don't think Taylor's got a head and shoulders better arm than Heinrich Haarberg. I think they're pretty comparable there. I think Taylor's a little more electric with what he can do in his legs. Heinrich's a little bit more meat and potatoes, trying to lower the shoulder into guys. I think they're somewhat comparable quarterbacks. It's just Nebraska doesn't have a 10-win roster around Heinrich Haarberg right now, and I think it brings out some of the flaws. And I'd say the same thing about Jeff Sims. I think Jeff Sims has a good arm. I think he's got good legs. I think the decision-making's been a problem, but I think you also have to take that decision-making in context as well and look at the team that you have around your starting quarterback and say, you know what, this guy isn't enough to clean up a lot of the issues within the offense, but I don't think he's bad enough that you can put all the losses on him, and I don't think that's what Matt Rule wants at Nebraska. I don't think he wants an offense that relies solely upon the quarterback to go make plays for you. I just think you're a long ways away from having an offense where it is a full 11-man effort as compared to a couple guys trying to make a whole bunch of plays and clean up the issues of the other areas of the offense.
4:89, 12:40, couple minutes left here for last call. And you have Eric chiming in. Haarberg's arm angle is a definite issue. It worked to his advantage today, but he got swatted down at 6'5".
Well, and Rule talked about the ability to throw through windows with, that smaller quarterbacks have the ability to find the right place to throw the football if they're not 6'5". Look, he should not have passes getting knocked down with the regularity he does.
He's got a makeshift O-line.
That's true, and that goes back to Martinez probably had a better O-line to give him a little bit more protection, and he could complete his passes. You got to have guys that are making the grab, and Washington had the great catch at the beginning of the second half, but he dropped one later in the game when they were trying to move the football. So. And he's got confidence in Fedoni. And I wrote this note down. The pass play from Haarberg to Billy Kemp that got the first down, a 34-yard gain in the first half.
Yep.
They got him down early on. I thought that was the best play of the season for Nebraska.
You're not wrong.
Because he didn't get locked in on his first read. He showed poise in the pocket, showed some patience, waited for Kemp to get open, hit him on the run, gains 34 yards. Unfortunately, they don't convert on fourth down, but that was the best play Nebraska's offense has seen this season.
Into fourth down yet.
Am I wrong here? Was that not the same play that they ran to Marcus Washington to lead off the second half? I think it was an identical play with a different wide receiver in there. And maybe I'll have to go back and check the film. I always do my rewatch of Husker football on Sunday. If it wasn't identical, it was very similar. Michigan was rolling a safety into the box and daring Heinrich Haarberg to beat him with his arm. And a couple times, Heinrich Haarberg did show that he could beat Michigan with his arm. Not all game long, not enough to make it a competitive football game, but.
And on his second read.
Yes.
He wasn't locked in on the first read. He waited for Kemp to get open, showed poise and patience, and threw a strike. And that's the best play I've seen from Nebraska this season. But at 6'5", you can't get your passes knocked down with that kind of regularity.
Guys,
I agree.
Go ahead, Motzi.
I was just going to say, I think one issue or one item I'll add on to that is that I think Billy Kemp, in my opinion, has been underappreciated. I think he's a guy that's very talented. I think he's done a terrific job at various times during this season so far for Nebraska. And you're right, Bill, that pass play arguably could be one of the best plays that Nebraska's had on offense all season. I thought that was a perfect pass set up for Billy Kemp to get that first down. And I think guys like him and Thomas Fedoni have obviously demonstrated that, if you're going to be more ground heavy in terms of your offense but need to throw the football, I mean, those are two guys I could think of right off the top of my head that could be guys you could look to in a passing situation, especially if you're looking to strike from 20, 25 yards out if you've got to.
Guys, before we get out of here, I see we're almost up against our 90-minute hard limit. I will say, if you didn't make it down here to the bar to come see us for Real Red Reaction post-game thoughts, there is live music getting set up in the beer garden at the bar. So
are you
going
to fire up some a cappella Guns N' Roses?
Well, we'll see. Maybe I'll get invited on stage. I know that I should have asked the gentleman's name. Whoever is playing music tonight came and shook my hand and said, "Oh, Elijah Herbal, big fan," and I felt as cool as I've ever felt. So it's about as simple as that. When the guy who's playing music's a fan of me,
it's a Freddie Mercury cover band because of the stash.
Yeah, that's why.
Hey,
Elson Bohemian.
He's in a white tank top too.
Hey, Elijah, if you go up and sing tonight, by the way, I'm the excuse king, by the way. I just saw that on the chat. Thank you very much. But if you go up there and sing some karaoke tonight, you might want to sing "I Want to Be Sedated" by the Ramones.
Could have gone to the first half of the football game for that.
Well,
it was trank dart time, yes.
I don't think "We Will Rock You" is fitting on a day like today. So
but
I think
it might be. There's a lot of blue and yellow in town.
That is true.
Hey, fellas, this was great. Check the Real Red Reaction posting. It's on Hail Varsity Radio Twitter. Check that out. Hail Varsity YouTube and the Real Red Reaction YouTube, KFOR Facebook, KFOR Twitter. Bill Dolman, big thanks to you for coming by pre and post. Elijah, awesome.
Bill, get yourself a slinky.
Will Wilson, God love you. Thank you for your hard work and input. And Jeff Moats, flex, brother. Rip those sleeves off. I love it. WWE time. Chris Schmidt will give big hugs to our friends here at the bar, 16th and P. Great day for pre and post game. The middle part, i.e. the game. Hey, a lot of tough thoughts from Nebraska fans. Totally get it. But Seth and Ali, Gregors, we love you. Thanks for having us. Back at you on Monday for Hail Varsity Radio. And check out the, of course, Average Joe Sports Show podcast. And get that looked at as well. We'll talk to you next time.
No, it's next Friday night from the Herd at Sports Bar and Grill. Schmitty and myself, the Road Reaction Show.
We will hustle up there and a watch party there. So take care. Best wishes. Be safe. And we'll talk to you Monday at 4 with Hail Varsity and your friends at KFOR.